Remember when I was like a kid and I was always sort of interested in watching this movie. I never like actually, I don't know why, but I never actually watched it, but I was always sort of fascinated by the poster by it. It's got the fangs on there and it's just about this killer baboon. It looked pretty freaky. So this is a movie about these medical students and they're doing aggression experiments. Their professor is Roddy McDowall, of course. Now Roddy McDowall, they cleverly use him because he was Cornelius in the Planet of the Apes movie, so it has an ape connection to it. And Christopher Atkins, his from Blue Lagoon fame, of course, his baboon Shakma freaks out. Roddy McDowall, he wants Atkins to euthanize this ape. Then McDowall comes back and he says, "Wait a minute, don't cremate him." He's like, "I want to do this autopsy or a necropsy the next day." So they leave the monkey there. And then the monkey comes to later, and he goes and attacks everybody. Now, of course, this movie has like a little bit of a different setting to it. So all these medical students, I guess they're not putting enough time in at work and they're bored, so they play like this sort of like live-action Dungeons and Dragons game. And Roddy McDowall, who is their professor, is the head nerd, sets this up, and he disables the fire alarm. He locks all the doors and everything. And it's like the way that this whole game plays out, it looks like an incredibly boring game to play, but they're all excited about it. So they all just sort of wander around playing this D&D game as they all get picked off and slaughtered by this crazy baboon. The kill scenes in this movie are kind of not very creative at all, but it is pretty freaky to see. Basically, like the whole way that the baboon kills people is he's just this shot of him behind people just twitching and freaking out and screaming wildly. I guess like the scariest thing is when they get up close to the baboon's face, it looks kind of cute until he bares his teeth. Then he freaks you out. And the whole thing with just like how hairy he is, and then he just has like patches of hair around him. And when they get the baboon all riled up, somebody runs away from him, and you see the baboon on the other side of the door, and he's just thrashing against the door. And the most horrifying thing there, of course, is just his giant exposed red ass. You know, like how baboons have those giant exposed red asses? Just like twitching around and bared fully to the camera. It's always like the baboon's red ass, like completely exposed, facing towards the camera for some reason. Now, when the monkey attacks people, it's generic. Now it's kind of freaky because you see him twitching and everything. After the monkey kills people, there's a lot of there's the aftermath of the gore after he kills them. But the actual attack scenes in themselves are pretty generic, and so this one, aside from Roddy McDowall being in it, and Christopher Atkins is pretty good in it, but the movie itself is just kind of boring. But I mean, like the whole idea of like taking like a Project X ape and turning that around and having him go bonkers on people and attacking him is pretty cool. And then you could see like how those things could really, like how chimps have this massive upper body strength. I think I'd be even more scared of a baboon because they have those huge... Well, I mean, chimps got some fangs too, but baboons have these just enormous freaking canines that they could bite you with. Then you could tell it would be like a vice if they bite you. So I would say good for the freaky... I mean, just only worth watching if you're like a total like horror movie completist, or will just watch anything with monkeys or puppets like I will. But I don't think I'd watch this movie again, but I like the idea of it. That aside, there's lots of potential for lab experiment gone wrong. When you look at the Planet of the Apes movies, that's what happens with them too. Their lab experiments gone wrong, and they take over humankind.
Shakma!